Unfortunately, so many men have been conditioned to believe that if you just protect and provide, you have done your job. And she does not have the right then to complain about the fact that you are not willing or not able or have not done the work to be more emotionally vulnerable.
Now, I try to warn y'all about these type of women. This is a perfect example of a red flag when you hear women always asking a man to be more vulnerable, always talking about men need to be more vulnerable. Guys, that's vulnerability for a man does not work in a relationship like it does a woman. A woman has to be vulnerable in order to submit. And if you become vulnerable like a woman, you're going to start submitting to her. There's no reason for you to be sitting up there pillow talking with a woman, telling her all your deep dark secrets, shit that happened to you back when you was a kid, that, oh my God, I never told nobody this and I never told nobody this. Telling some of you dudes to tell the women illegal shit that, damn, if the police find out, they'll lock your ass up. Some of y'all go as far as doing that. So what you're doing is you're putting trust in an emotional being. And guys, as soon as you start showing your vulnerability, she's going to use that against you in some capacity. Soon as you piss her off, soon as you do something that she don't like that you did, or you're not doing what she wants you to do, guess what's going to end up happening? Eventually, she's going to dig that shit up. And then if you emotionally attached to her, she's going to put some pressure on you, because at that point, she has the power. Listen, man, a woman gonna be vulnerable around you if she lives with you or she around you every day just by your day-to-day activity. So she's gonna see that vulnerability in you. But you have to limit that shit as much as you can. You have to limit that as much as you can. Otherwise, you're gonna be in a world of trouble. It's just simple as that, guys. It's just simple as that. In order for a woman to commit to you, she has to be vulnerable in order to have submission. That's just how it works. But let's see what else she's talking about.
Unfortunately, so many men have been conditioned to believe that if you just protect and provide, you have done your job. And so that gets very triggering. They get really frustrated. No, women are never satisfied. We can't do enough. There's not enough that's happening. As opposed to,
The only thing is to protect and provide. The only thing is to protect and provide. Man, this woman talk like this is some kind of mundane thing to do, like it's easy to protect and provide. There's a whole bunch of guys that can protect physically. But when it comes down to providing financially, hell, the average man only makes about $41,000 to $42,000 a year. And in most parts of the country, that's barely enough to take care of itself, let alone try to take care of a whole family. So if you find a guy that's making above the average wage, then he's out there busting his ass in a world that's full of lions, tigers, and sharks and stressing. And the last thing he needs to have to do is come home and deal with a woman's emotions and her complaining about she's not feeling like this, she's not feeling like that, because her emotions are up today, down tomorrow, left to next day, and to the right next week. You see what I'm talking about, guys? So with all that, guys, she's sitting up here talking about, okay, so you need to be able to protect and provide and be vulnerable. Guys, listen here, man. Vulnerability is meant for women. With vulnerability comes submission. And the only way a woman can be with you is she has to be in a state of submission. Now, or I should say, the only way a woman will stay with you is she has to be in a state of submission. Because if not, guys, eventually that feminine energy that's buried down in some of these masculine women, it's going to creep out, and she's going to creep over to a man that she submits to. Because submission is one of the steps of falling in love. And women love to fall in love. They don't like to stay in a marriage, stay in a relationship. They like to fall in love. And then when that gets old, they like to go somewhere else and fall in love again. But for her to sit up here and say men complain and They say that you can't do nothing right for the woman and the woman has to hear this all the time. Guys, if you get into a relationship that you find yourself having to emotionally please your woman all the time, then I'm going to tell you right now, you in for a world of trouble. You in for a world of trouble. And eventually, if you stay with her long enough, you're going to look back and think that, damn, was all this worth it? I had to put up with this. But let's continue.
How do we recognize that we are all human beings having a very human experience where we have been conditioned not to step into our full completeness? And as a result of that, we harm ourselves and our partners and our relationships by not learning and showing up in a new, more meaningful way. How do we not rise to the occasion of what is required of us instead of complaining and feeling entitled to have a certain thing because we learned a certain set of rules for a world that no longer exists?
Now, this lady is right about this part. We are all human beings, and we all have to come into our own. I agree with her about that. And see, this is the mistake that women make all the time when they're trying to tell men what to do in relationships. Because men and women in relationship follow two different sets of rules. And the rule that you're going to follow as a man is going to be the rules of masculinity. And the rules that she follow as a woman is going to be the rules of femininity. And the two connect. And vulnerability, guys, is a feminine trait. And once you start sitting up there being vulnerable, guys, what's going to end up happening is you're going to fall into her lane. And then she's going to take over your lane. It's just simple as that, man. It's just simple as that. And now she's saying that we playing a new game trying to play by old sets of rules. I'm paraphrasing. And she's right. We do. Women, well, she's right to some degree. Because women expect men to abide by old rules while they keep this modern women's idea. While they follow the rules of the modern woman, but they still want us to follow the old-fashioned rules and treat them accordingly. And when we step outside of those rules and step up to the type of game that they playing, they get upset. And that's just how it goes. So, man, let this vulnerability shit go, guys. I'm telling you right now. If you hear a woman talk about you need to be more vulnerable, hey, I ain't telling you to throw it to the curb right then, but just be mindful and keep an eye on her. And don't fall for the trap.